I want to talk about the actual scoring method that we're going to use. So what we're basically doing is we're taking and creating like a weighted system. In the ChatGPT prompt that I shared with you, you can see that it says in one of the lines, it says to use a 60% weight towards the sales by zip code and a 40% by closing ratio. Now, you could do this 50-50. You could do 100% to sales. It's up to you, but I like this balance because it gives a slight edge to the actual revenue generated from the area, but it also gives me some weight based on the closing ratio. And the reason that's important is if I'm getting leads in an area, let's say I got this one zip code and I've got 20 leads in this area, and I only close one of those 20 leads. That's a pretty low ratio. Well, I might have a good sales amount there. I might. And maybe we made $20,000. But if that close rate is really low, what that tells me is that on average, that area is hard to close a deal in. So I can continue to spend money and buy leads in that zip code, but I'm going to struggle to close. Whereas the next zip code over, maybe my close rate in that zip code is like 40%, 50%. That tells me that I'm getting a much higher rate of appointment to close rate in that area when I get the lead and set the appointment, which means that that's something we want to think about, right? Because these leads, whether you're doing Google ads, Facebook ads, LSA, Angie's, it doesn't really matter. All of these leads are going to be expensive, right? It's very costly to advertise. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the zip codes that are producing money, but also still consider the close rate. So if we had one area, I'm looking at like a year's worth of data in this example, we could take one area that maybe in the entire year, maybe you had 50, 60, 70, 80, even 100 leads. And on paper, if I only think about sales amount, maybe I closed 5 jobs and it's like, 50, 60, 70, 80, even $100,000, but the close rate's like 5%. That means I would have spent a lot of money to get that lead, to get that appointment, and to get those closes. So when I'm looking in this prompt, what I'm asking it to do is I'm asking it to consider both the revenue amount in a zip code and the closing rate in that zip code. And I'm using a 60-40. Again, you could change it 40-60, 70-30, 50-50, but I recommend considering both of them because they're both important and they kind of tell part of the picture of how we are actually spending our money in these areas. And ideally, I want to spend money on zip codes where the close rate is high and the revenue is high. If both are high, then I've got a win-win, and that's where I want to dump all my money into. Okay. Now, with that said, once we analyze the data from that, we're going to tell this. We're telling ChatGPT to put this in 3 tiers. Essentially, the bottom tier is very, very low performance. We should stop all marketing in that performance zone. So we're going to call this a low performance zone. And in that zone, our outcome is going to be, if we are currently marketing in it, we're going to stop marketing there because it's not worth it. This is going to be something with very low sales and very low close rate combined. And that's just not where we want to put our money. Okay. Now the middle tier is going to be kind of just medium. This isn't a fixed amount. This is relative to whatever you do. So if your top close rate is 40% and this is in the 20-30% range, it will probably be in that middle zone. If your top close rate is 70-80%, that middle zone might be 40 or 50% for you. So it's relative to your data. We're just basically asking you to group it into a low, mid, and high performing. So low, we're just going to kill it. We're going to stop advertising anything that comes up in the low zone. In the mid zone, these are things that we're going to leave on, but we're either going to reduce budget or effort there, or potentially use bid offsetting, which I'll go over in a second. And then the high zone is where we want to put our most into it. These are going to be the areas where not only should we do digital ads, but you may even consider doing print and door knocking and other things because those areas are super hot for you. And we want to make sure that you're like the neighborhood hero. So in any of these areas that are hot, I'd consider just throwing everything in there, right? Do mail, do Facebook, do LSA, do Google ads, do SEO. If you have door knocking or something like that, do that too, or canvassing or door hangers or whatever, right? Because if it's high, it means you have a success track record in that area, making lots of money. And we want to put our effort and our dollars there so that you compete and maximize that ROI.